most photographs taken at any time are pictures of people. Welcome to Daytripper Television. I'm Chevalier. In this episode, we're going to help you set up your lights. Amazing portraits. But first, we've got a very, very cool interview with professional studio photographer and amazing magician, Mr. Peter McKinnon. Now, Bryan, you've known Peter for quite some time.
Absolutely. I've worked with Peter at Henry's. I've got to hang out with him doing a lot of urban exploration, and watching his style, it changes the way you think about making photos. He's got a creativity that's natural. He doesn't have to work for it. He didn't take any classes. He didn't learn anything, and he just got amazing photographs. And this guy's a talent in everything that he does. Plays the drums. I mean, he does just about everything. But the greatest part is we actually got on film an impromptu little trick that he did for us that we're going to show later on in the episode that those of us in the studio are still trying to work out, actually. So it's pretty cool.
Well, our producer thinks she knows how we did it.
Well, yes, of course, but she's our producer. She should know these things.
When we shoot portraits of people, one of the most important things is getting them lit well. Because if we don't light them well, then the photograph can look not so good. And you know what happens when you make somebody look not good? It's not good.
You don't really get a second shot at doing that again.
They may not talk to you again. You might, be involved in that whole shoe throwing thing. It's really unpleasant. So our goal here is to help you set up lights, and not super expensive lights. In fact, for our demonstration today, we're going to use continuous lighting. Continuous lighting is different from flash because we spent time, we did studio flash in an earlier episode. Continuous light is on all the time. And if you've seen some of our other recent episodes, we use continuous light for our macro shot. Continuous means the light's always on. It's very bright, but it's also low wattage, so you're not consuming a lot of power. And unlike the old days of continuous light, where 500 watts also gave you a suntan, or a burn,
or melt your head.
Melt your head. That's absolutely true. Continuous lighting is comfortable for your subjects. Now, we're not talking about casual portraits, and that's a wonderful thing. We're talking about something that's set up a little bit more. Things that in the past you would have to pay in a studio to get this type of work done. We're going to show you some lighting setups that have been known literally for decades. They're easy to do. And we're actually going to use this sample system, and a wonderful young lady who's volunteered or got volunteered, I'm not sure how it worked out for her, who's going to sit for us, and that way you don't have to look at the two of us all the time. You'll be looking at somebody actually pretty. So we're going to set up the different lighting setups. We're going to go through them all, tell you what they're called, and basically how you position your lights. And what you're going to see is something really simple.
In fact, you're only going to use one light for this, aren't you?
Exactly, just one light, not even a reflector. Now, can you? Of course you can. But again, our goal is to help you make better photos, and we're going to help you do that. But first,
why don't we cut away and have a quick look at our interview with Peter. He goes into some of the techniques that he uses for studio. He goes into how to make your model comfortable and so on and so forth. So why don't we cut away now and look at our interview with Peter.
Excellent.
Pete, thank you for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, definitely.
Peter's a friend and an excellent photographer. You're also a close-up magician.
Yes.
And you do some, illusions, all kinds of great forms of expression. Now, I've known you for a long time.
Yep.
We go back a bit. We've done some shooting together, and you used to work with me and all that. So I know where you're coming from, but maybe you can just kind of reiterate for everyone else, what got you into photography? How did you actually start? What gave you the bug?
Gave me the bug, it was actually just a gift. Digital camera is a gift for being in a wedding party. After that, I really didn't have any interest in it in the beginning. But when you first get a camera and you start kind of testing it out creatively, and you're trying to capture raindrops and grass blades, and you kind of step back and think to yourself, like, I've never done this before. Why is this so interesting? And then the next thing you know, you're shooting with an SLR and you're changing out your lenses and you're running around in fields and hopping fences, and it just kind of snowballs. It's an addiction.
Yeah, totally, especially some of the crazy places that we actually.
We've been some crazy places together too, so you know how it is.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from, but you know what? The style you have is so unique. Like, somebody can shoot with you, side by side with you, and your photos would look totally different. What is it that actually gave you this whole flair?
I think that the best part about photography is that it can be, interpreted from so many different points of view. I know a lot of books are out there, a lot of courses and workshops and stuff like that on how to take pictures, and a lot of people follow the rules, and it's said that place the person in the lower thirds and do that kind of stuff, but I've always I've never really educated myself in it. I just kind of do what I want to do all the time, which is good and bad because, I mean, knowing the rules is obviously very important, but I think you got to know the rules so that you can break the rules.
It's funny you say that. So. That's actually something we talk about quite often on the show.
There you go.
Literally,
yeah.
You have to know the rules to break the rules.
Awesome.
Makes perfect sense.
Cool.
Now, the style I've seen you kind of progress to is very portrait. You love taking portraits. You love working with people. I've never really been great with that myself. So maybe you can give us an idea of like what kind of look you're trying to get and what you're trying to elicit from the person you're trying to take a shoot from.
I started with landscape photography because it's like, you know, what a lot of people start getting into photography. But like you mentioned, yeah. And it's nice to go out and just kind of do your own thing. But what I love about taking portraits of people is that everyone's face is so unique. And when you bring out that character in them, it's just such a radiance that glows from that photo. It sounds kind of cheesy and lame, but like you've probably seen my Plaid Chair series where
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, you take the personality traits of someone and really you can just make them shine out of that one photo. Such great expression in someone's face from an old person or like a young kid laughing, that kind of thing. So for me, it's a little more interesting. It's a little more fun to be able to capture and try to bring out that, like, you know, that inner person's.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah,
that really is.
Part.
And that's one thing that you're really strong with is your personal connection to the person you're shooting. Weddings, like I've heard stories of after you shoot a wedding, people are like your best friend for years and years.
Yeah, I've had a lot of the wedding clients that I have right now, you come over for barbecue still, and we hang out, and they make me do magic.
That's awesome, of course, yeah.
But yeah, it's great.
Pretty awesome, by the way. Now, we're sitting in your studio right now.
Yeah.
So you have this to rent out as well.
Yeah, I do.
I know that, you know, I'm probably going to have a Daytripper 2 rented out of here. But what is the whole reason why somebody would want to rent a studio and have that kind of control of their lighting and that?
Because it forces them into like a new realm of photography. You know, you're comfortable shooting landscapes and portraits outside, it's easy. When you get into a studio, it's a whole different world, right? Like how to set your lights for different exposures, how to set your exposure when you're setting lights and shoot with wireless triggers and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of puts you in an environment that's the same, it's still the same photography that you love, but now it's like a whole new genre of stuff that you probably weren't familiar with in the first place. So it really lets you creatively explore all the options that photography has to offer with lighting, which is, of course, your famous line, how...
Photography.
Exactly.
Have the photo in the graphy.
Yeah, painting with light.
That's right.
That's Bryan Weiss right there. So, I mean, and that's exactly what it is. So, I mean, it's really cool to experiment. When you get into a studio, there's so many different toys and stuff that you don't use that let you kind of shift the way something would normally be taken outside.
Yeah.
So
create your own environment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk gear that you use, and we're going to actually let you talk with Ross, and you guys can discuss some of the equipment, some of the stuff that you usually use day to day.
Happy to.
Hey man, thanks a lot for inviting us into your studio.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Of course.
So one of the great things that you can offer to photographers in the Newmarket Aurora area is the ability to rent studio space with professional gear, and you've set it up to help people be successful. Maybe you could take the audience through some of what you've got here and why it makes such sense, particularly for pictures of people.
People, portraits, okay, sure. Obviously when you're shooting in a studio, lights are an essential. If you have lots of window light like we do here, thankfully, that actually proves for very flattering light as well. But the reason for me when I use lights is I think brighter pixels are sharper pixels. That's always what I've been taught. So the brighter the subject, the more detail you can pull out of it. So I mean, in post, you can switch it around and stuff like that, but it's nice to be able to have all these different tools at your disposal for different creative shots and outcomes with your photos. So a lot of the time I just use this big main light because I like a really head-on, very, very bright light in the face, which kind of falls off around with nothing. So the detail is very much focused right on those features, which is what Bryan and I were discussing earlier about how I like to bring out their character. You got different side lights if you want to just light from the side. You got a light up top that's going to obviously light up the background to give you that negative white space if you want.
So you can really blow the background out and really call attention to your subject.
Yeah, very, very popular looking corporate and business portraits, that kind of thing. So, but the best part of it is not necessarily what I do with it, it's what they're going to do with it, because you have this to your disposal to change, slide around, move, take away. It's like building Lego, right? You can make something huge, make it small, you can make it totally different. It's kind of like whatever you want.
And you said that these are all wireless available, so there's no cables to worry about tripping over. It's really straightforward. You've got multiple rolls of backdrop paper. So people can get different looks pretty easily.
We mounted it from the ceiling so that we would get rid of the stands, because a lot of the time when you have stands, it's hard to move around them. You got to move the stand,
trip over stuff,
backdrop, all that kind of stuff. So we just figured the best option was with the roof. Mounted everything up there, and it gets out of the way and lets you shoot very, very efficiently. So,
well, that's very cool, and it's a great space. Clearly, you didn't have to, you didn't need thousands of square feet to create something that's really, really effective.
At the end of the day, the client wouldn't know the difference anyway where you shot it. So
exactly. So we've got a nice big softbox in the front. You've got an Octa off to one side, a beauty dish with a scrim, and another powered head to light the backdrop.
Yeah.
All of that's just going to fire off.
It's all wireless at the same time, so they all act as slaves. So if you fire one, they all trip.
Brilliant. So it's really easy for somebody to come in, work with you for a real short period of time, and then you let them rip, right?
It. Absolutely.
Well, then that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question for you.
Sure.
And I know you've got more kit because you're a photographer than most people need.
Yeah.
If you could only recommend 2 lenses, only 2, what would they be? For this kind of stuff.
Okay, for this kind of stuff.
People.
I'll give you 2 answers, one general and one for this kind of stuff. If I could only take 2 lenses with me forever, I'll say they just discontinue them all, choose 2, you're done. 24mm 1.4 from Canon. I live and die by that.
And I can see it in your landscape shots.
Yeah.
It's got a look.
Yeah, that lens and an 85 1.2. Because I love the compression and depth of field. It's a bit slow, but for me, the outcome and the output of that lens is just so beautiful. So
It's slow to focus, not slow from a light perspective.
Slow to focus, definitely, but those are the 2 I would 100% take with me if I had to.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, when you see folks making people photographs, you know, we joke about the DMV type of look.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you could suggest to anyone making a portrait, I mean, good friends, family, pets, whatever, what's the one thing that you'd say, don't do this, avoid, run away?
Yeah.
What's the biggest mistake that you see on a regular basis?
It's probably not the answer most people are going to expect, but it's giving direction. Because a lot of people can just shoot a photo, they can get the expression, they can do whatever they want, but a lot of people don't work with the talent to get the outcome that they want. They usually just walk in and it's I don't know if it's like a nervous tick kind of thing, but usually they just shoot the photo and that's it. So I build a rapport, you got to get comfortable with someone. You got to kind of ease them into being comfortable with you, how you shoot, that kind of thing. And when you do that, those results are going to be way better than if you just had them come in, didn't build a kind of rapport like that, and just shot the image.
Well, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because this is one of the things that you are really well known for. The ability to build rapport, relationship. Brian talked about when you shoot weddings, that people stay friends with you.
Yeah. What
are some reasonable techniques that any photographer could use to help that? Because you're right, I've seen that too. Okay, smile.
Yeah. It's awkward.
What?
It's very uncomfortable.
It's really uncomfortable for people. So how do you break the ice?
I think to start, you don't go right into shooting. Let's say I'm going to have you to my studio, we're going to shoot. I take the first 30 minutes to kind of just hang out with them, play some music, get them a coffee, that kind of thing, make them comfortable. So when they're comfortable, they're going to open up, they're going to feel a lot better when you get in front of them with the camera. Because if you just go in front of them with the camera to start off, you're just some guy behind a big lens that they've never probably had that experience before. So it's very like...
There's no rapport.
Yeah, exactly. So when you kind of like ease them into it, it's a lot better. I'll do magic for them, that kind of stuff. And that's another reason I think has helped me with the whole building rapport is the magic that I do. Because you got to perform for audiences. So that's why when I go to weddings, I kind of instantly get in right with everybody. So I'm not the photographer. I'm like, where's Pete? Pete, come shoot this. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it.
Right.
So you got to be the friend. Be their friend instead of a client.
So you're building that personal relationship, and that's how you draw out the character that you emphasize so much in your shots. I mean, I look at your work and it's recognizable.
It's because like you've
pulled things out.
Absolutely, there it is, pulling them out. Because when you see in like, those different series and portraits that I do, I get the crazy kind of inner character coming out of someone, and that's hard to do when you just have them stand and say, "Okay, go nuts, scream really loud." And they're like,
"Well, we've got a mutual friend in Cal, and your portrait of Khalil in the Plaid Chair series, boy, that tells the story. That is the man. It's him
in a box. That's Khalil
in one little shot, and I think that's brilliant." Now, if we were to take it outside, because you also do a ton of travel stuff.
Yes.
When I look at your portfolio, there's all kinds of brilliant travel photography. You take with you, from what you learned as a portrait photographer, into the field for travel.
I think it's learning to work on the fly, kind of like MacGyvering situations. Because when you're traveling and you're in some remote destination, you can only bring X amount of things with you. You got to kind of make it work regardless. So if like this is all you have and you have 1 hour left of daylight and you have 2 people with you and your batteries are dying, you got to be able to work fast and be efficient. So I take basic applications from the studio and from lighting and stuff like that. Like if I can find a loose leaf piece of paper that's 8.5 by 11 printer people, I'll get someone to hold that up as like a mock kind of reflector.
Right.
I'll bounce light off certain buildings from the angle I'm going to shoot at. So it's really just kind of like looking around, being aware of your surroundings and saying, how can I make this work?
So you're not suggesting that to do great travel photography, you have to take bags and bags of kit?
No, absolutely not, no.
You can really make it work with what's available.
Yeah, totally. I don't take very much with me at all. I mean, like I I travel a lot, as you mentioned, around the world with all my stuff. And I started out like a tackle box. I would bring every single thing. I would have like a poncho, rain poncho ready to go. I'd have like 16 lenses, filters, polarizers. Let's say it's going to be all night shooting. I'll still bring a polarizer.
Right.
But I learned very quickly that with checking bags or putting them in the overhead, you're really limited down to like just what you need, bare essentials. So it got to a point where I was just bringing one camera, 2 lenses, or 2 bodies, 1 lens.
Right.
Just the bare essentials. Like your house is on fire, what do you grab?
Right.
Apply that to your photography. You're leaving in 2 hours to the airport. You're going to be in some remote destination in Africa shooting this. What do you really need? Do you really need to bring X? So
a little bit of preparation, a little bit of planning.
Yeah.
Think about how easy it's going to be to carry with you.
Totally.
I mean, how many times have you been out where you see the photographer who might as well be humping a 70-pound pack across the Brecon Beacons because they brought way too much gear.
Crouching down, trying to make it out of the airport. No.
So light, fast, shoot quickly, use the surroundings to act as fill, kind of fake the studio environment using what's available to you.
Yep. I'm packing light too, because a lot of the time it's not only transporting the gear from to B, which is what we just talked about, but it's like what you're going to do with it when you're in the field, because you don't want to roll your big roller out to this remote destination and work from it. So honestly, sometimes I just travel with a shoot sack.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, a shoot sack? Rick, really? It's one of the best bags I've ever bought, because it's so tight, small, form-fitted. I can fit a few lenses in it, and that's what I bring sometimes with me just on the airplane.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in one of our travel episodes, it doesn't scream, I've got a bunch of cameras, please rip me off.
It's like a messenger bag, yeah.
Exactly.
So, and it's great.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. We're going to take a short break. Bryan wants to come back because one of the things that you do extremely well is get the word out about who you are and the skills that you bring. You willing to talk to folks about how to market themselves as photographers?
Happy to do it.
Thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hey there, and welcome back. As you just saw, we were talking with Peter McKinnon, phenomenal photographer, fun guy. There's a little bit more to the interview, though. We went on a little bit more, so why don't we just break away and have a chat, watch the video again with Peter?
I think that's great, and maybe we'll see that special trick, too.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I love it.
I'm stoked, too.
The more I watch it, the more I can't figure it out.
Cool.
So let's check out Peter again. All right, Pete, well, we've moved around a little bit. We're in a different area of your studio now. What do you use this area for?
This is the bakery. While people are shooting, I make cupcakes.
Well, that's good to break the ice, wouldn't it be?
Amazing. I put my little branding, the little wrappers on them with my logo and website.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what we're going to talk about. It's primarily, actually, you use this room for a lot of other things, don't you? This is like your staging room, your makeup room, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about a studio. You have to have space for
absolutely
all kinds of different things. But you mentioned the branding part of things. That's kind of funny segue.
I actually don't make cupcakes in here.
That's probably just as well.
Yeah. They'd be blue if I did, but
marketing, branding.
Yes.
That's actually what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I've known you for a while, like I've said. I've seen you come up from starting into photography to all of a sudden overnight practically exploding into the scene. How did you get yourself from here to here? Like, what do you have to do as a successful photographer to elevate your career and to bring yourself into a different bracket?
It's exactly that, though. Like, if you were to actually make cupcakes in your studio, the little cupcake wrappers, you'd put your website on them, that kind of stuff. You got to think everything that you hand out, everything that you wear, everything that people see should be kind of branded towards who you are. That way it's going to be stuck in their mind the next time they see you.
You've taken a lot of time to get your branding right.
Like if you see that color blue, you're like, oh, that's Peter McKinnon blue. Or if you see a colon between 2 initials, you'd probably think of P colon M, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I think a lot of it is social media, which probably anybody will tell you. Tweeting, blogging, Facebook, that kind of stuff. The trifecta would be making a blog post, then tweeting that you made a blog post, and then putting that tweet on Facebook that you made a blog post, just so that everybody across all get to see it, right? So if you're done a shoot, put up what you did, that kind of stuff. I find that people, Instagram actually, if I'm cutting myself off, is pretty popular now too, because that can post automatically to all those different outlets.
Well, even during our interviews, I've been, taking some shots in the background and Instagramming that and putting it to Facebook and Twitter.
It's so easy to do, and it's fun, and I think people really enjoy watching someone else's journey through photography or whatever they do, and I think that's what pulls people in, is when the updates come through, because they're like, oh, where's this guy going to be? What's he going to do next? What's the next portrait? So when they see an update, they're excited. The worst thing to probably do is to not update your blog for like a lengthy period of time. You want to keep it, consistent.
Guilty.
Yeah, I'm guilty too. It's hard to do, but like if you do it effectively, people are going to keep coming back because they know that when they go back, there's probably going to be a new update. So if you can stay true to that kind of formula, and every time you do something interesting or that you find interesting, tweet about it, Instagram, blog post, that kind of stuff, and you just keep it going. It's like the CNN page. That page changes every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's true.
And why people go back to it all the time, multiple times a day. So that's probably what I would say the best thing to do is really get plugged in with, take advantage of the social media that's out there. I mean, it's fun to use, but it's almost like free advertising that you don't have to pay for, and you can reach so many people with it. And when you are branded to, your photography and all the different things that you do in your life, it really helps people identify with, who you are and just different visual cues that will make them remember exactly what it is that you do.
As you said, you really have to stay true to yourself with your branding, too, or else you end up, putting stuff out there one day and then changing your mind and trying something different the next day.
Yeah, I kind of blame Pepsi for that kind of thing because they changed their logo so many times. You've probably seen a graphic online. When Coca-Cola and Pepsi first started their businesses, it has a whole timeline of their logos. And Pepsi's changed their logo like 25, 30 times. You can look it up too. Coca-Cola has the same logo that they started with.
That's right.
So when you see that, you instantly recognize it. So stick to a color scheme, and bring that color scheme to your business cards, bring that color scheme to your blog, bring it to t-shirts, water bottles, whatever you're gonna bring out to help give to clients or help propel you into that world of more business related. Really brand it so that everything is congruent, everything is the same. You don't want different purple bottles with a bright red website and your business card is yellow.
Yeah.
Unless like your logo was a rainbow or something, then it would make sense. But like I stick to the color blue, gray, and white, and everything that I have is either blue, gray, or white. Even if I was to make cupcakes, like I mentioned at the beginning, the frosting would be blue.
Cool.
So.
Hey there, welcome back again. Great interview there with Peter. He got in some great things. But before we get to the trick, you notice that we have our little friend back here.
Magic appearance.
This is Christy. Christy's going to be helping us out with our portrait lighting and showing you some examples of different styles of lighting in that.
See, we promised you somebody much prettier than this.
And we actually come through on our promises.
And we deliver.
There you
go.
Well,
actually, Christy delivered. We just kind of showed up here.
Now, some of the things that Pete talked about that was interesting, things like bring a shoot sack. People don't know what a shoot sack is. It's literally a little, like a neoprene style bag with pockets in it. Very thin, low profile. He keeps his lenses in there. Super straightforward little accessory you can use. Yeah. Not the most inexpensive bag in the world, but they're still very flexible. And we talked about being consistent with your marketing. You want to make sure that you put the word out there in a very consistent manner, same colors from year to year to year. It's all very good points.
He said so many other good tips. Don't necessarily have to carry a big reflector. A sheet of paper can actually work like that. And I think the thing that I found most telling is the time he spends to make his model feel comfortable.
Absolutely, and that is something that goes a long way. If you're sitting there in front of a photographer and you don't really know what to expect or don't know how he approaches you or whatever, you feel a little bit timid.
Well, especially if you've seen photographers in movies, because they're all psychos.
Which Peter's not.
No, he's not.
No, he's
not
pretty
psycho.
Cool. Okay, so
at least as far as they know.
Yeah. Now, to set up this video that you're going to see in a second, we were doing our interview. I know Peter is a magician, so at the last minute, hey, Pete, just throw something out there. Show us a trick. This was totally impromptu. This is not elicited or coaxed or anything like that.
And it's not set up. He really did this in front of us, and we're all kind of doing that.
Ross thought he had it.
I thought I figured it out. I was wrong.
We watched it again today, and yeah, we can't figure it out. So why don't we cut to that quickly before we get back to Christy and do some more lighting and things like that. So let's cue that up and get that going. All right, Pete. Now we've talked about all your stuff. Let's have a little fun.
Okay.
I know you're an awesome magician. I've seen some of your stuff. So hook us up, man. Show me what you can do.
On the spot. Wow.
Put you on the spot.
Let's see. Think of a number between 1 and 100.
Okay.
Tell me what it is. What is it? What do you
42.
got? 42 is the reason you chose 42.
It's the meaning of life.
It's the meaning of life, because that's the number I was thinking of, actually. Yeah, no, I'm not actually kidding. I was thinking of 42 as well, and that's it. That's not impressive.
That's a great trick.
That's not impressive. No. Look, I keep my wallet in my back pocket and I keep my change in the front pocket. Now this doesn't always work, but if it does, let's just see. We got the table here, we got a desk, there's nothing in my hands because I'm not wearing any sleeves, obviously. But I got an ace up my sleeve, huh? Bad joke. Okay, look, you hear that? I'm gonna pull out the change I have. I want you to pick that up. I don't want to touch it to make it seem like it did anything. Count that out.
You have 42 cents.
42 cents. I told you that was the number
Really?
I was thinking of.
That's bizarre. Literally. That's awesome. That's not even a trick. That's just like
Weird, right?
lunatic-ism.
I don't even know how it's done. I've done it. I've seen it so many times. I still can't figure it out. Anyway, again, thanks for having me, man. Pleasure.
Awesome. That is so random.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll let you call Pete and ask him how he did
you
it.
call McKinnon. He'll tell you how he did it for a fee.
Yeah, right.
Because magicians always reveal their trick. Listen, before we cut, I want to introduce you to not just Christy, who's being very gracious, but some of the gear that we're using in order to do basically the training we want to deliver in this session. So basically what we've got is, as I mentioned, a continuous lighting system. This continuous light system comes from a company called Westcott, and it's called the Spiderlight TD5. TD5 means that there are 5 bulbs in here. They're compact fluorescents, but they're high-powered frosted compact fluorescents that are accurately balanced to 5,500 degrees Kelvin, which, as we know, is
Daylight balanced.
It's sitting on an Avenger boom and on a Kupo Pro C-stand. Now, you can't see the base. The idea of a C-stand is that they are incredibly stable. And you can either have rotatable C-stands or ones where the legs vary in height to use on hills and that sort of thing.
And we should just mention as well, this kit would run on average between $400 and about $800, depending on what configuration you buy, the size, the strength of the stand, and so on.
Exactly. You can actually, BD5 kit, comes with bulbs, comes with the head, comes with a simple light stand for literally with the small softbox, I think it's around $500-600.
That's right.
We're using a much heavier duty stand with sandbags because if we drop this on Christy, she's going to be really upset, and that would be bad. But also because we're using a boom. So anytime that you're using a boom to make any type of portrait lighting, you want to weigh your stand down with an appropriate weight so things don't tip over.
And again, a boom is a stand that has the arm that goes over top. You can usually put a counterweight on the other side, so you can take it, you can slide it this way, you can slide it backwards, where the stand just stays in the same position.
Right, and what you can see here is that we've literally positioned the light right above Christy's head. And it's positioned in front of her for a very important reason, the reason we're going to go into when we come back after break to talk about lighting setups. So, come back and see us. We'll be here for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Daytripper Television. In this part of our episode, we're going to look at some lighting setups, and Christy's going to help us with that. Now, our first setup uses an overhead light. Overhead lighting is very common, and we've seen this in glamour photography for a long time, and it works best, frankly, with ladies. The idea is to delineate the shape of the cheekbones, to pop the eyes out a little bit, and create a natural triangle for the face. And that's what we're doing here. And in fact, the way that we've set the light, it's above Christy and slightly in front of her. Now, we've positioned the light because we've got to move it for a lot of different setups, but the idea is I want to be forward because soft a light as I can, and I want the light to wrap into her eye sockets. If I had the light too far back, I'd dig dark holes here and it wouldn't be very flattering and it wouldn't be a pleasant photograph. What I'm looking for in this type of light that we call butterfly is a butterfly shaped shadow right under her nose. And if you look closely, you can see that little triangle. It shouldn't be jet black. If it's jet black, your lighting is too harsh, it's too far away. You want to move the light close. And in fact, one of the nice things about being here in the studio is that you can see where the light is positioned. It's very close. Part of getting nice soft light is getting the light very, very close to your subject. So this is Butterfly. We've got a lovely catch light appearing in both of her eyes. Her eye sockets aren't darkened down. We've got a nice little shadow under her nose. And it's very flattering to the face because you can see the shadows are forming in her cheekbones. And so it's beautifully flattering light, very popular for ladies. Now, another type of light that derives from Butterfly is often referred to as loop lighting. What we're going to do is Bryan's going to pull our light stand away from Christy, and as she looks, I want you to watch the tip of the shadow. You see it's moving off to the side and it's creating a little loop. We are also getting a little bit more highlight on one side of her nose than the other, but we still have highlights in both of her eyes. That's very important because a lot of the other lighting setups that we're going to end up using don't have that catch light in both eyes. Having the catch light in both eyes is an element of using an overhead light. Again, we want to create facial structure, we want to create length in the face, and we want to really highlight how nice and long the eyelashes are. We want to lighten them up. We've got a really nice treatment of her face. The other thing that you'll notice is that the brightness here in her cheeks is much brighter than it is here on the front of her ear. That's why we have the light forward. If we had the light too far backward, we'd have ears as bright as her face, and that's not really what we're trying to achieve.
But if it is what you're trying to achieve, then just positioning the light in a different way or using a reflector card or something to bring light back into the shot, these are all things that you can play with. What we're doing is you're giving you the classic lighting poses.
Very classic.
And from
lighting.
there, creativity can do anything you'd like it to do.
So we're going to move on to take a look at what's called Rembrandt light. Now Rembrandt, and Bryan's got a fair bit of movement to do that, so we're going to take the light away and then bring the whole light stand forward so she don't fall over.
Down.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is we're going to simulate light coming from about 45 degrees and high front. And the reason this is called Rembrandt lighting is because the painter Rembrandt had a skylight in his studio. And if you look at any of his portraits, they've got a look. They've got a very specific look where the light is hitting our subject. So Bryan, that's a good, I'm going to need you to raise that light up. Use the boom, just crank her up there. There we go, and let's twist it around a little bit. All right, I'm going to need it out that way a little bit more. No, the whole stand.
Oh, the whole stand, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Keep going. And the reason we're going through the process is I want you to see what's involved in getting the light to work. Okay, I'm going to just manipulate this a little bit, and that way more. Take the whole light stand that way about 2 feet.
Okay.
Okay, it's a little hard to see here in the studio because we've got studio lights happening. Christy, can I ask you to turn your body just this way a little bit? Perfect, that's ideal. Okay, so what we've done now is we've got Christy lit up and to her left. And any way we can get that a little higher?
Sure.
Because what we're trying to do is we want to illuminate this side of her face. We want the light there. Yeah, that's good. And now I'm just going to reach above you, sorry, a little bit. And now what we're seeing is the light's breaking across her face, and there's a very subtle shadow that's going from the tip of her nose to the corner of her mouth. And it's actually easier for you to see in the video than it is for me to see it here.
Yeah.
The idea is we want that lovely shadow to break there, because look what it does here on where her cheeks are. We create depth, we create dimensionality, we've got nice brightness here in this side of the face, and if we're taking a look at it, if I were to grab the flag there.
There we go.
As we bring the flag in closer, just watch the level of light on her ear. And you can see that we can actually cut down the level of light a little bit.
There we can, but we've got the other lights.
Yeah, we've got a lot of other light.
But the flag basically is there to stop a certain amount of light from getting into a certain distance It's in between the light and the model, and you can just basically move it in and out to choose how much of the light you're trying to block.
Exactly. Now we're using a fairly big softbox here, and we're fairly close, so it's very soft. But what you're getting is you're getting that nice triangle of light, brighter here than it is here. Also note what happens to the fullness of the lip. It's a much richer look. We're really drawing out the proportions of the face to create a very beautiful look. Rembrandt lighting will work fine for both ladies and for gentlemen. For gentlemen, you're probably going to want to pull one of the scrims out of your softbox because you actually want to pull texture.
So you're saying there's two pieces of diffusion inside the softbox. There's the inner scrim and then the outer layer of scrim. And you take out the inner and leave the outer, and that'll give you extra light coming through the softbox.
Absolutely, because what we want to do with gentlemen's faces, we want to use the texture and the lines to tell the story. Typically not what we want to do with a lady's face. We want to keep it as soft as possible. Right? Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's the Barbara Walters filter, isn't it?
That's something completely different. It comes in a tub, says Vaseline on it. Okay, we're next going to take a look at the elements of broad and short lighting, as well as some derivatives therein. So Brian, can I ask you to drop that light down?
Let's just move it away so we don't hit
so
anybody.
We don't hit anybody. And we ask your patience as it comes down. Keep coming down, 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 down. Okay, that's good. Now let's rotate the boom and bring that light almost vertical. Good. A little more vertical. Yeah, try to hit the studio lights. That'd be good. Okay, lock that up. And now let's once that's done, let's bring it all the way down onto that stand. Beautiful, perfect. So now what we're doing is we're trying to get the light as close as we can to the model's height. I don't want to light as much here as I do up here. This is the important part of our photograph. I want her face to have more attention than her shoulders and her lower body. Now her shoulder is closer to the light. It's going to naturally be brighter. So I'm going to have Brian, once we get this set up, use the flag to cut that off. So now when I'm looking at the light, what I'm seeing, and Chrissy, I'm going to ask you to look a little bit this way. Perfect. What we're seeing now is the broad side of her face being lit. Broad lighting can work very well with someone with a very thin face to give you some more depth. It can give you some more dimension. Brian, can I ask you to bring that in? Mm-hmm. There. Okay. Now what we've done, we've flagged the light to take some of the shine off of her shoulder, and we're directing more of the light into her face. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's drop that down. Now, Christy, I would like you to look more towards the camera here. You can actually turn your body a little bit. And let's have a look and see how that works. A little bit more. Okay, now bring your head back. Beautiful. What we're doing here is called short lighting. We're putting a narrower part of her face being illuminated, right? Mm-hmm. This is in more shadow. Again, if you're only truly using one light and you didn't have 8,000 watts of studio lamps, it's a little bit more pronounced than what we're seeing here, but the idea is there. Short lighting allows you to narrow a face down. It also helps if you want to cut down on anything, perhaps someone has a blemish on one side of their face. You don't want to light that, so you want to put that in the dark side, in the short side.
So that's just using the light to bring more attention to a specific side rather than...
Or to take attention away from a specific side. Now, all of us have had a situation where we want to photograph someone and maybe they've got a large nose or the nose has been broken. This is how, and when you hit them with a light like this, it actually starts to glow. And that's not really flattering to anybody. So we're going to look at something called split lighting. Split lighting works best with guys, but can be very, very effective with women where the eye sockets are somewhat depressed. And what we're going to do, Brian, is I'm going to get you to bring the light back here.
All right.
And we just, it takes a bit of time because the stuff's not exactly...
And plus I'm mic'd up and all wired in.
Super lightweight. Okay, Brian, and a little bit more. Beautiful, and that's perfect, Brian. And one of the nice things about these boxes, I'm just going to rotate this toward you. See that there's this black edge here. That allows us to control the direction of light like a filter. And what I'm doing now is I am feathering off the side. Bring that back.
You got that okay?
And now, a little bit more. That's better. And now when we look at Christy's beautiful face, we see that this side is lit and this side goes into shadow. Now, what's really important here is when it goes to shadow, obviously we would like it to be as dark as possible. Now, one thing that happens here, that ear is very brightly lit. We would take our flag and break stuff. Yeah.
The joys of being wired.
And as I raise the flag, just like that. Again, we're seeing it in the frame, but now if we were to go to a straight on shot, what you'll see is that the ear is now no longer near as bright as the rest of her face. So the use of very cheap cards is a good way to do this. And another good way, and I'm going to just reach behind Christy. Bryan, you want to take that?
Yes, sir.
This is a great thing about using this type of light. When I squeeze it together, see what happens to the face. I've got a lot more light on this side than I do over here. And as a consequence, I can really direct my light effectively. And I could use a piece of gaff tape or a spring clamp to hold things together. This is the beauty of this type of lighting. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll close up our thoughts on studio lighting and portraiture. See you soon. Hey everyone, welcome back to Daytripper TV. We've been talking to you about using lights to make studio quality portraits, but with equipment that you can use in your own home and that's easily transportable.
And using a single light so far, so it's not a whole lot of kit that you have to worry about.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Now we also understand that, not all lighting is the same color temperature, and we need to give thanks to the studio crew here who are really working very hard to manage multiple color temperatures. Please understand that any color shifts you see are our fault and not theirs.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't try to color match our lights to their lights. For the last part of our demonstration here, what we've done is we've dropped the light even lower and we pulled it in much tighter to Christy. We've also set an angle so it's closer on the side of her face than it is on the shoulder. And if you were able, and I know you can't, to look into the box from where I'm standing, what you would see is that the light is just skimming her face. This is called feathering. Feathering gives us the softest light that we can get. So if we have someone who's, they've been in the world a while and they've got some wrinkles happening and you want to soften those wrinkles and you don't want to retouch them to death in your processing software, feather. It's the softest light that you're going to get. Now we're feathering Christy. We don't have to feather Christy for wrinkles because she's still young. But what I've also done by moving it in tight, I've given you a better idea of split light. And what you'll see when you look at it is we're actually compressing her face. Now Christy's got a great face. But she's got very rich lips. And so what we wanted to do is not make them as visible, so we can soften that a little bit just by feathering light. We do the same thing to people's noses. I've got a very small nose. If you split nose or split light me, my face disappears.
And I've got the typical Weiss nose, so
okay, yeah,
it can get in the way for that.
And that can help you too. So just positioning your light can make a difference. Now, Christy, thanks, man. You've just been awesome. You've put up with all manner of crap from us. Bryan, maybe you could just turn that light. Can we switch down? Turn those tubes off?
Sure. 1, 2,
3. And it's really that simple. They're constant lights.
Do you want to open that up and show the
Bryan,
world?
why don't you pull off that front diffuser?
Try not to.
Yeah, it's hard to not turn your back, but lights.
There we go.
So what you're seeing is that Bryan is basically, he's got a diffusion screen in his hand that velcroed inside the rim of this softbox, and the softbox is lined with a textured silver. And the reason it's lined with a textured silver is to get as much spread of light as possible. That's a good thing. We want the light to be soft. Now, Bryan talked earlier about the ability to manipulate multiple diffusion panels. The nice thing about the Spiderlight TD5 is that it has 2 diffusion panels, the outer and the inner. And the inner is just attached with literally elastic straps. So if I reach back here and pop these off, you know, we've been running this light for about 45 minutes. It's not hot. And this is what we're seeing. The Spiderlight TD5 is a 5-light system. There's a small light right in the center, and then 4 bigger compact fluorescent lights outside. Now, what I'm going to show you is how powerful this kind of lighting system can be even without diffusion. Could I use this for something else? Let's suppose that you're selling your home and you want to make a beautiful room shot. You need more light. You could use this type of thing to do that. You've got some artwork maybe that you've painted or you've created, a sculpture you've made. Bryan, let's turn the light back a little bit towards Christy so we don't kill our camera team. And let's fire up, okay, that's 1 switch. 2, and 3 is the 3rd center light. So we've got an enormous amount of light power, and you can see in your monitor that she's blown out completely. The idea here is I've got an incredible range of power. Let's knock it down. Beautiful. In something that is very lightweight and very portable, your total setup time is probably no more than, what, 15 minutes to get it out of the box?
Absolutely.
Get it up on the light stands.
Another application that I've recently started to use this for was for my web talk show that I'm doing on Google+.
Right.
I'm in my home office, and, you know, sometimes I wear my hat. Most of the time I wear my hat. And, you know, you're going to get a shadow because I have a ceiling light on and I have a little light on my desk. Well, by using a light like this, you can put it in the softbox, you can get it fairly close to you, but still out of shot, and have the light fill in everywhere. It's a nice constant light, it's not too hot, I don't have to worry about my fan turning on, distracting the camera and getting off focus and so on. So it can be used for so many different things that it never ends, what you can use a constant light for.
You know, you hit on something very important that we didn't even think to talk about. You know, our focus today has been to talk about lighting for portraiture, but every DSLR camera that we get today has video. Can't use a flash with video, but you can definitely use continuous lighting with video, and you've got more than enough power in something like a Spiderlight to light your video.
Yep. Now I'm using my Bowens kit at home right now for that.
Right, you're using the lights from your studio flash system.
Exactly. So the lights that I use are actually a 400 watt strobe, but it has a modeling light, and a modeling light's just a constant on light as well with a softbox. So very similar platform to this, and I think it just is a testament to how versatile a product like this could be. 1 minute you're using it for stills, for portrait, for studio application, next minute you're using for video. With a little battery pack or some sort of outdoor power supply, you can use it outside because it's very lightweight and portable. Completely flexible product.
It's a great choice. And this idea of going to continuous light makes portraiture and lighting portraiture so much easier. Because you saw we could move the lights around.
Well, I could try.
You did a good job. Until we got the placement of the shadows that we liked. It's so much easier than flash, take a test shot, look, no, yeah, moved, yeah, oh, okay. It's much, much faster. It's much easier on your talent because they're not getting every couple of seconds. You shoot when they're ready, and you shoot when you're ready. Now, we've been talking today about a light TD5, 5 bulbs. There's also, you sell this stuff at Henry's, this TD3, which is a 3-bulb system. And if you need more power, they've got a 6-bulb system called the TD6.
And if you want to look back at our photo contest that we had, one of the prizes we gave out was the Aaron Manning kit.
Which is a soft light system.
We've talked about that for macro. We can use it for portrait. It's a very flexible product. It sells for about $400 with 2 lights and 2 soft boxes and 2 stands. It's a pretty flexible product as well. And it even comes with an instruction DVD on how to use it.
Right, and in the Manning kit, it's exactly the same type of bulbs that we have right here in this box. Those big, compact fluorescent lamps that are easy to use.
Yeah, and I think it's one of our future episodes where we're actually going to be looking at some of the images from the photo contest as well.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have them up on our website.
Please check out the contest winners on dtptv.com for that. And I believe hopefully it'll be up on the Rogers website as well,
Yeah,
all the
it
winners
will.
from our contest.
So I'm Ross from the Photo Video Guy. If you need training on how to do portraits, you can certainly contact me through the website. And you can find Bryan at
www.daytripperphoto.com. And again, Daytripper takes people on nature walks and sets up scenarios to teach you how to use your gear. We've actually had the doctor over here help us out on a couple of our portrait sessions and other sessions as well. Excellent resources, all to get hands-on help on how to do these things. But of course, there's a number of different places you can go for help. Kelby Training Online is a great one.
Great one.
But you know what? Check out the photovideoguy.ca. All of his podcasts and his video tutorials are fantastic. And if you want to go on a day trip, get some hands-on help, give me a call.
Absolutely. Our goal here at Daytripper TV, help you make better photos. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. We'll speak to you again soon.